So I'm speaking with John Gray, the writer and director of Extra Innings. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Hey, Ken, I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well. Doing as well as I can. So I wanted to start off by, noting you've been in the business for a while now. You've written and directed features and television films. You've created successful TV shows. But I've noticed lately you've started to focus more on writing and directing shorts. And that's a trend I've been seeing since I've been doing this festival. There's a lot more established actors and directors moving kind of back into shorts. I was wondering if you could talk to me about that a little bit. What's the appeal of coming back into shorts at this point in your career?
Well, it's a great question. I've been asked that question often. And for me, I have been in the business a long time, 30 some odd years. And I did a short film about 3 years ago as a proof of concept piece for a horror movie a horror feature that we're trying to put together. So we took a 7-minute scene and just did it as a short to try to illustrate, how great we think this horror movie can be. And I had a great time doing it. And, a lot of my old collaborators worked on it with me, on my DP, and great cast, we had a wonderful crew. And it turned out well enough that we all thought, hey, it's kind of a standalone little movie. Why don't we just put it into film festivals? And we did, and it did really well at festivals. And I started to go to some of them when I could. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting other filmmakers and seeing other movies. And so I just thought, man, this is great. I'm just going to try to do this more often. In Hollywood, as you know, I'm sure, the development process is just glacial. And it's more difficult than ever to sell anything. You would think it's the opposite with so much content, with the hunger for so much content. But the truth is, it's very difficult to get anything off the ground these days. So while I am in that slow process, I get to make short films, and I pay for them myself. I get my group of people who I love and I've worked with forever to do them with me. And it's just a great outlet. It just keeps me creative, and it keeps me working. And when it does come time to go to festivals, I love that. I just love being at festivals, and like I said, meeting other filmmakers and exchanging ideas and looking at films. The whole thing is just great. And so now I try to do at least 2 a year if I can.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And I, that's a little bit of what I've gotten from some of the more established people that have come to the festival. They really missed just talking one-on-one with an audience, someone who actually came to watch the movie, not came to have their picture taken and then not actually watch the movie.
And when I was very young, when I was like a teenager, even 13, 14 years old, I was making short films in Super 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter. And it was great. I learned so much. It was wonderful. And then when I got on to more of a Hollywood career, I loved having all the toys, all the resources, and everything got bigger. But there's something so incredibly sweet now about being back in the short film world and the kind of the do-it-yourself quality of it. And I love that. And I love not having to play Mother May I with a network or a studio. I just cast it as I see fit. And I have my wife is my producer, and she's incredibly smart and collaborative. And so I love getting her notes and other people's notes. But it's so different than having to deal with the network in the studio where you're terrified they're going to destroy your work with their notes. So it's really nice not to have to deal with that. I'm loving it.
That's great. So in the story, Peter Riegert's character, obviously is dealing with issues of memory. I'm assuming probably dealing with Alzheimer's. And I was wondering if for you, if there was a story behind this story, if this is something that you've dealt with your parents or within your family. I was wondering if there was some origin of that for you.
Well, the origin really, more than Alzheimer's per se, but my mother went into an assisted living facility the last 2 or 3 years of her life. And my brother and I, arranged it for her. And she, at first, she just hated every minute. And I understood, it's not our home, everything's new, they're all strangers. And she really didn't like it at all. And she had some, memory issues. She had some mild dementia. It wasn't as far gone as our guy in the movie, but I know my brother and I both felt so frustrated and sad that she couldn't find some joy in these, what were going to be her last few years. And I used to fantasize about it. I wish there were a way that I could sort of convince her that she was somewhere else, that she was in a place that she loved. My mother was always a big fan of Hollywood, and I wish I could tell her this is a movie studio and everything she sees around her. And I just started thinking about that and wishing I could create a world for her that she could just inhabit in her mind. And that's really what kind of triggered this for me, just in terms of trying to come up with a short film to do about someone who maybe has a son who had the resources to do that for him. And it just kind of grew from there.
That's great. There's definitely the aspect of dealing with the aging parents and the struggle with that. Having it be the father and son character, there's also this aspect of the son's trying to reconnect with his father, and the father is actually, you sense in the story, would like to connect with his son. He doesn't realize he has the opportunity to do that, or it seems unclear to him that he has an opportunity to do that. And it was making me think about how there's a gentleness in the way you've portrayed it. And that's something that when I see men trying to connect with each other in movies, when I see that theme, fathers or sons or something, I often don't get that gentleness. They usually have to put it in more of an action sequence or with more tragedy. And I find it seems like it's hard to portray that with a sense of authenticity. I was wondering if you had some feelings about that, or if that rang true to you.
Well, I totally get what you're saying. Fathers and sons has been a big theme of mine my whole career. My agent once joked to me that I've been making the same movie just over and over again. And I did make a father-son film called White Irish Drinkers, which is a feature. And that was, as you just described, very, very gritty and violent. And it was a very, very different kind of father-son story. But this one I felt was kind of bittersweet. And I think the son in this piece, he's not holding a lot of anger against his father. He's holding a lot of pain. Mm. And he really would like to try to alleviate that and make some kind of connection, even if his father doesn't know who he is. So for me, it doesn't come from a place in this instance of anger or resentment or, hear me, damn it. It's more about this kind of wise young guy who understands where his father is and that he'll never come back from it. And so is there something he can pull from him? He just wants to hear somehow that his father loved him or cared for him, and maybe he still does. And so it's about trying to elicit that from his dad, kind of secretly.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't see that portrayed that way a lot. I see the theme come up a lot, yeah, but not with the more gracefulness you gave in this.
Thanks.
So I know you've worked with Peter Riegert before, and he's one of those actors that I think everyone just smiles when they see him come on screen. There's something in his demeanor that's just quite likable. How is it for you working with him?
Peter is great. I did this, White Irish Drinkers. Peter was in, and we became friends. And we're both from New York. We have a lot in common. It's kind of amazing to me that we had never crossed paths before. We did that film in 2009. So I just couldn't believe our whole career we had never worked together before. But we really like each other a lot, and I was very lucky he agreed to do this because there's really no money involved. But he came out to LA. We shot it in LA, and he's just a very smart and incredibly intuitive actor, and he brings a lot to it, a lot that's not on the page, and that's what you want. You really want an actor who will bring something to it that you didn't even see yourself. And on top of that, he's a great guy. He's a funny guy. He's got great stories. He's had a very storied career, and I just love him. He's wonderful to work with. Everyone loves him on the set, So I hope to do it many more times.
Yeah, he seems like one of these guys that doesn't quite get that he's as well known as he is.
Yes, yeah. He's very, very humble about it. He's very prepared. He's very professional, and he's just kind of a normal guy. Just see him on the subway. Hey, Pete, he's just like a regular guy.
And how was it working with TJ Tyne?
TJ was wonderful. I'd never worked with him before, and I knew his work from Bones and some other things. But again, he was just so enthusiastic and passionate about the story, and such a good actor. It's just I was just amazed, and he just came in, and we had planned on a day of rehearsal before we had 2 days of shooting, and I went to 1 day of rehearsal, and at the very last minute, TJ got called in. He was doing an HBO show, and they called him in on what he thought would be his day off, so he couldn't rehearse with us. So I was worried about that a little bit. I still rehearsed with Peter. We got somebody else to play the other role just so we could do some blocking and figure it out a little bit. But when he came in on the shoot day, he was just there, 100%. Take one, just all the energy, everything that you want from an actor is there. Just smart and cooperative. He gets everybody else's job. He knows what people need from him. He wants to help them do their job. I can't say enough good things about him. Just a really wonderful. Very lucky to get him.
That's great. So a 2-day shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah. Well, it's very. That's part of the thing of writing these. There's a certain budget I have in mind that I want to hit, and you just know, you got to contain it. One location, maybe 2 locations, minimum amount of characters. If you really want to do something where you can spend some time getting the performance and getting it to look a certain way, just keep the scripts small and short. And that's how I've been doing them so far, basically on these 2-day shoots. And, they're getting a little more ambitious and a little more expensive, but that's the general template.
That's great. I just wanted to ask you, this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but as someone who has, been in this business for a little while now, and you know how things works, what are your thoughts on how the pandemic is affecting the film and the TV industry right now?
I think it's going to, and has already, caused just an enormous sea change. I don't even think people are aware yet of how life is going to be so different once this, if it ever goes away. Movie theaters, some are probably not even going to come back after this. Movie theaters were already struggling against streaming and people just wanting to stay at home. It's more and more difficult to get people to come out of their houses to go to the movies in best of times. And so I think what we were seeing in the movie business already are these, kind of tentpole, gigantic franchise movies that seem to be the only ones that can sustain a release. Because, the smaller films, the emotional movies, the smaller dramas, they're really being done very well now on Netflix and Amazon. And so people don't want to really come out and spend the money to go and see that. So I think now people are even more comfortable with staying home and streaming. It's convenient, it's safe, it's easy. In my opinion, it's not anywhere near as good as sitting in a theater with a lot of people, but right now that's just not a very safe thing to do. So I'm just not sure when this is all over, all said and done, if the movie business, theater business, will rebound, or it'll become a different thing. Like you're seeing now, movies are being released, mainstream movies being released now by streamers. A lot of theater chains are partnering with studios to stream films. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know what's going to, how this is going to end up. But I don't think it's going to be a good thing for theaters in the end.
Yeah, it's difficult. How many times can they delay the James Bond film or
I know
whatever film is out there?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we have a 1,000-seat theater. We do live shows, but we also do films. And for our festivals, any one of our films would have 600 to 800 people in it, and which for our younger shorts film directors, because we always pair a short with a feature, when they stand up front of sometimes 800 people all wanting to ask them questions about their film, and they're not sharing the Q&A with anybody else. For them, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I hope we can get that back.
I know, it's just it's so much about the horse following the cart, because even when they begin to let movie theaters open, it's still going to be limited capacity, And so, what does a studio do if you're holding the James Bond movie or you're holding the new Chris Nolan movie? Are you going to release it in an environment where only half full movie theaters, can see it, can play it? So I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions, but,
Mhm.
I don't know how it's going to play out.
So you indicated like, the glacial pace that things are moving. What are you waiting to move at a slightly faster pace? What's in the future for you?
Well, I'm always developing, more TV series ideas. I have some producing partners. We're always pitching things and trying to get things set up. We've been doing virtual pitches, which is, kind of interesting. And I've got a couple of feature films that we're trying to raise money for, in all different spectrums of the budget area. And so, it's about, in order to survive in this business, you just have to have a lot of balls in the air
Mhm.
and just keep juggling, and
Mhm.
and now, of course, very few people are buying, and no one really knows in a television world. No one exactly knows what the appetites are going to be for a series when this is over. Um, so no one knows what to buy. People are going to want to buy. They're going to want darker stuff, or they're going to want lighter stuff, or they're going to. Everyone's just paralyzed with indecision about what to buy. So
Mhm.
it's even slower than usual now trying to get something set up.
John, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Sure.
I really hope I get to meet you in person in the
Me
future.
too. Maybe next year. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
And film is great. I know our audience is.